Where did you?
What is up, everybody? Bigjuicyhog here, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a versus series based on a few of the second tier ARPG games that ended up being a little bit of a disappointment overall. If you don't know what an ARPG is, it stands for Action Role-Playing Game. It contains games in the genre such as Diablo and Path of Exile. Recently there have been a number of these games released, and not all of them have been particularly good. You have some great ones like Grim Dawn that delivers massively despite not having the best graphics. Then you have a couple of games that graphically looked really nice but ultimately did not deliver the goods like we thought they would. Today we're going to be talking about two of those games, Wolcen and Warhammer Chaosbane. So starting with Wolcen. Wolcen is an ARPG released by Wolcen Studios in February of 2020, which initially saw quite a few people in the normal ARPG community playing it. It fell off a steep cliff before too long for a large number of reasons. The main problem was the poor game balance and the broken skill system. Wolcen is actually, in my opinion, one of the best looking ARPGs out there from a graphic perspective. But sometimes I don't feel like it has the best servers in the world, as it seems to be a bit prone to lag spikes from time to time. Story mode is not the worst thing I've ever seen, and the boss fights during story mode can actually be quite challenging. Just as with many ARPGs, however, the real game doesn't start until the end game, where you'll begin building up your kingdom as you gain resources. As you upgrade Stormfall, you'll unlock different missions and increase productivity nodes, including things like more vault space. Adds a decent extra layer to the endgame for people to work towards. There are a couple different Rift-like endgame activities that you can do. One is Mandates, which is usually a short mission with poor rewards and probably not worth your time. The main path of progression lies in Expeditions maps. It's very similar to Diablo 3 Rifts in some ways. You go to the table and you select the difficulty level and get going. After you kill the boss on the first level, you have the option to move to the next level or leave with your rewards. The catch is that if you die 3 times overall, you'll fail the expedition. You have to decide if it's worth your time to move on or move out. Not a bad mechanic, honestly, and can be fun. The skill system is somewhat unique in the ARPG realms, as you actually pick up skills initially as drops and upgrade them through a vendor. This gives you a decent amount of flexibility on what kind of skills you want to try in a game. Attributes are pretty standard fare for any ARPG game, so if you look at any game that you've played previously and the stats that you can allocate, it's not much different. Gear feels a little bit like Path of Exile, only worse. Most of what you pick up is crap, and there are very few good legendary or unique items. This may have changed, but I haven't played through it enough recently to speak on it. I played a little bit for this video, and the stuff was still pretty crap. Overall, the game feels pretty polished, but seems to suffer from its very shaky release. I played a lot in the first couple weeks, and then basically put it down. There is stuff to do at endgame, but whether it holds your interest or not is another matter. Now, on to Chaosbane. Warhammer Chaosbane was an ARPG released by EKO Software in May of 2019 and is the most recent disappointment on the Warhammer video game front. Once again, it was a game that looked graphically great but failed in a lot of areas. Chaosbane has a campaign, but really isn't that great. It's Warhammer, but without the great story, basically. You'll slog through multiple chapters of similar story and 2 DLCs of almost no content. You can't fully judge an ARPG on its story, so what else does this have to offer? Well, graphically, it looks very nice. It fits well in the dark world of Warhammer and has a real impact when you tear your enemies to pieces. Once you get to endgame, there are a few different modes to play, and at least one that's new, which is called Tower of Chaos. It's similar to Wolcen's Expeditions in that you have to decide if you want to push to the next level and greater rewards, or leave while you still loot the chest. I actually found the tower to be quite enjoyable and plan to play a bit more honestly. The older endgame modes, which are Boss Rush and Relic Hunt, really aren't that fun. Boss Rush is just trying to zerg one of the act bosses on the highest difficulty you can manage, while Relic Hunt is kind of a build your own map. You run the map for rewards and then you're done. It's not really anything special. There's nothing particularly special or innovative about the skill system, although the combat is decently fun, at least on the Slayer, which is pretty much all I actually play. If you saw my previous review of Warhammer Online, you know the Slayer is my absolute favorite archetype in any game, so this was a must. There's a pretty basic skill tree as well as legendary levels, which basically act the same as the Paragons from Diablo 3. The gear is more similar to Diablo 3 as compared to Wolcen, which is a bit more like PoE. In Chaosbane, you'll want a full set of armor as soon as possible. Having all the pieces of a set make a huge difference to the difficulty of the game for you. Overall, the game can be fun for some mindless hack and slash, but is really pretty thin on actual content. A lot of the ideas seem to be directly ripped from other ARPGs with very little innovation. So if you looked online, most of the games have identical 6 out of 10 scores on Steam and 58% on PC Gamer, so they're pretty much thought of just about the same. Both of them had some updates since their release that have made some quotation marks improvements, and so you can see the games have some major issues. I put somewhere around 40 hours into both games, and the one thing I regret is buying either one at full price. Now, if I had to choose one of these games for someone looking to try a new ARPG, and have already tried almost everything in the genre, which one would I choose? Well, based on the fact that Wolcen at least has a somewhat decent story mode, I would probably go with Wolcen. Neither game really offers much at the end game, and Chaosbane feels like a huge money grab that released half-baked DLC that you can finish in an hour. I am not even exaggerating. I finished the entire Tomb King's expansion in approximately 1 hour. My honest assessment is that you should probably not get either of these games unless you just really want to or they're on sale. They both have their fun moments and look very nice, but are still a little bit thin where it matters most, and that is in the end game. If you do decide to get one of them, then for the love of God, wait for a sale. If you love the Warhammer Fantasy Universe and want a well-made and fun game, then go try out Vermintide 2. It's a lot of fun to play with friends, and it is a ton more polished than Chaosbane. So, that was my review today on the Wolcen vs. Chaosbane debate. You can chime in if you like, otherwise, I have the final word. You guys have a good one.